When you first look at it, it's just another scooter, right? Maybe it looks a little bulky, maybe a bit dated, but if you dig just a little deeper, you find this incredibly passionate fan base for the Suzuki Burgman 200. So what is it about this unsung hero that makes its owners so fiercely loyal? Let's get into it. And this is where the story gets really interesting. When you start reading what the owners actually have to say. Take this quote, "Pure sport." For a practical commuter scooter, that doesn't really compute, does it? It immediately throws our first impressions right out the window and points to something much, much more complex. And that's really the central mystery we're going to unpack here. How on earth did this 200cc oddity, a machine that most people just overlook, become what some of its owners call a god scooter? To find out, we've got to look at the numbers.
Yeah, the most compelling evidence here comes straight from the people who live with the scooter day in and day out, and when you ask them what they think, well, it's an absolute landslide.
Check this out. On Kakaku.com, which is a major Japanese review site, the Burgman 200 has an overall satisfaction score of 4.47 out of 5, and that's based on almost 100 different owner reviews. That is a huge score for any product, let alone one that seems so polarizing. Let's break that down, because it's pretty mind-blowing. A staggering 58% of owners gave it a perfect 5-star rating. Another 35% gave it 4 stars. You do the math. That's over 93% of the people who actually bought this scooter, saying they are highly satisfied. The negative reviews are barely even a sliver of the pie. So something isn't adding up, right? You've got non-owners calling the design dumpy or old-fashioned, but the satisfaction scores are through the roof. What are these owners seeing that the rest of us are missing? Well, the answer starts with the heart of the machine, its engine. Okay, the heart of the Burgman 200's whole personality is its engine. It's the source of its greatest praise and, at the same time, its most common complaint. It's a real double-edged sword. The secret is its balancerless design. See, most modern engines have this little shaft inside that spins just to cancel out vibrations and make everything feel smooth. Suzuki, well, they just decided to leave it out on this one. The trade-off? You get this incredible snappy throttle response and a lighter engine, but the price you pay is some serious shaking, especially when you're just sitting still. And that trade-off shows up perfectly in the owner reviews. On one hand, they just rave about the acceleration, calling it a boy racer. But on the other hand, almost every single owner mentions the intense vibration at idle. Some even say it's enough to make their mirrors totally blurry at a stoplight. So what does that actually feel like? Let's walk through it. You're at a stop, and you can feel this heavy vibration through the whole bike. Then, you twist the throttle, and not much happens until the engine hits about 4,500 RPM. And right at that point, owners say the clutch just engages with a sudden bang, and it launches you forward. But here's the crazy part. Once you're moving, all that vibration just melts away into this smooth, surprisingly quick surge of power. It's quirky. It's got character. All right, let's move on to the next major duality of the Burgman 200. This is all about its looks versus what those looks let it carry. The loot, in this case, being its absolutely massive storage space.
Look, a lot of people are not fans of the styling. They'll call it old, dumpy, or complain that the rear end is just too bulky. But here's the twist. That exact same bulky design is precisely what gives the Burgman its superpower, unmatched utility.
And you see it again and again and again in the reviews. The single most praised feature of this entire scooter is its under-seat storage. Owners consistently call it insanely huge and a total game changer. For a lot of them, this was the primary reason they chose this model over everything else. And here's the hard number, 41 liters. Just to put that into perspective, that's more space than you get in many scooters from the bigger, heavier 250cc class. For a 200cc machine, that is absolutely cavernous. But what does 41 liters actually mean in the real world? Well, owners give us some fantastic examples. We're talking about a full-face helmet plus all your rain gear fitting in there at the same time. A B4-sized business briefcase can lie flat on the bottom. Some people even say they can fit a week's worth of groceries or enough gear for a solo camping trip. That is just incredible versatility. Okay, so we have this quirky engine and massive storage. Let's start putting all the pieces together to figure out who the ideal rider is for this thing. And a big part of that comes down to something simple, the physical fit. And here we go with another key duality. Taller riders, even those around 169 centimeters, so about 5'7", they say it feels cramped and can even cause back pain on long rides. But for shorter riders, one owner at 165 centimeters called it a Cinderella fit. saying the seat, the handlebars, and the foot pegs all form this perfect golden triangle of comfort.
Ultimately, this scooter is defined by its trade-offs. It's a series of choices. You get a thrilling, responsive engine, but you have to live with that heavy vibration. You get massive storage, but you have to accept the dated styling. It's lightweight and perfect for shorter riders, but it's going to be uncomfortable for taller folks. This is a machine that knows exactly what it is, and more importantly, what it isn't.
Now, for a balanced view, we have to address the negatives. And the most serious complaint we found comes from an owner who reported that their engine suddenly stalled multiple times. Their dealer's supposed explanation is pretty alarming, that overfilling the gas tank could cause fuel to leak into the engine compartment. However, and this is a really important however, it's critical to put this in context. While that stalling issue is definitely concerning, it really does appear to be a rare outlier. Remember, with over 93% of reviews being 4 or 5 stars, the vast majority of owners are reporting no such problem at all.
So after all that, who is the ideal Burgman 200 owner? Well, based on everything we've seen, it's a very specific person. It's the rider who values function far, far more than form. It's the daily commuter or the weekend tourer who absolutely needs maximum storage. It's for the person who feels like a 150cc scooter is too weak for the highway, but a full 250cc scooter is just too big and heavy for the city. And yeah, it's for the enthusiast who actually enjoys a quirky engine with a bit of a wild side.
And that brings us back to that one owner quote that just perfectly nails the whole identity of this machine. It's not a scaled down 250, it's a scaled up 150. That's it. That's its true identity. It has the nimbleness of a smaller scooter, but with enough power and practicality to play in the big leagues.
And that leaves us with one final thought. In today's market, which is filled with high-tech features like smart keys and traction control, the Burgman 200 is decidedly simple. But its incredibly passionate following suggests that maybe, just maybe, its unique focus on raw power and extreme practicality is a kind of lost formula worth revisiting. What do you think?